Welcome to this new video in which we will look at 3 solutions to directly charge an electric or hybrid vehicle from home. We will be able to charge our vehicle with a charging station, a reinforced socket, or with a P17 socket, but as you will see, that one has some issues. And in this video, I'll take the opportunity to install this socket. So it's a reinforced socket. You'll discover all the steps, the cable size, the right circuit breaker, the socket itself. Why this one and not another? And you'll see that installing a reinforced socket is super simple, and later there will be 2 P17 sockets like this one that will replace the reinforced socket I just installed. You should know that a P17 socket costs much less than a charging station. However, installing a P17 socket in a residential setting to charge your electric or hybrid vehicle is not up to code. We'll talk about it again later, but that's for when I've installed them. The P17 sockets, it could be in a month or it could be in a year, of course. What will I do? A video on the subject? Installing the P17 sockets, connecting them to the panel, the cable size, the circuit breakers, and so on. As for me, charging stations aren't really interesting for many regions. First of all, the price compared to my usage is way too expensive. At most, I drive 60 kilometers a day, so installing a charging station makes no sense. A reinforced socket is more than enough for me. My wife's company car is a diesel and her company is renewing its fleet. Very often, all companies are making the transition to electric vehicles. Her car will be replaced in a few months, but will the next one be electric, hybrid, or will it still be a diesel? I don't know. And what if it's an electric or hybrid vehicle? Knowing that she drives a lot more kilometers than I do, we'll have to go for something more powerful and faster. So I'll install a P17 socket for each vehicle, hers and mine, but for now it's the reinforced socket that interests me. And as with any electrical work, we cut the power to work safely, and it's perfect timing that we're talking about safety. That allows me to make a side note and introduce the partner of this video, which is CoverGuard. So CoverGuard, for those who don't know them, they manufacture and distribute a wide, complete range of ultra comfortable personal protective equipment workwear for both women and men. Alright, let me show you some personal protective equipment workwear from their range. And let's get back to our topic. So, in the CoverGuard range, of course, you'll find hand protection. You've seen it in my videos. I wear more and more cut-resistant gloves since I cut myself very easily with this type of glove you see in my videos. It's the Rocket N300. No more cuts. I'm using them again to install the socket. I'll handle a utility knife, so there's a risk of injury, but now my hands are protected. And the other advantage is that they're ultra thin. You can handle tools. I can pick up screws. It doesn't bother me at all. It doesn't even feel like I'm wearing gloves. And there's another advantage. They're compatible with your phone's touchscreen. Next, we have thermal gloves. We're entering a period when it's cold, so if you work outside and you're tired of having cold hands, wear thermal gloves. Here, the model is the Eurowinter L20. All links are in the description. So, keeping your hands warm is the best for working, and then we'll move on to everything related to face protection with the noise-cancelling helmet. If you're using a jackhammer, for example, protect your ears and your eardrums. Respiratory masks. If, like me, you're handling fiberglass right now, wear a mask, either with a valve or without. Filtering facepiece, 2 filtering facepiece, 3, but protect your bronchi, your lungs, and your throat. If you don't want to end up in the hospital's ophthalmology department from grinding debris in your eye, wear safety glasses. At CoverGuard, they have a complete range, so treat yourself, pick the glasses that suit you, and protect your eyes. Now let's move down to the body. For example, I'm thinking of tilers and masons who always have their knees on screeds, slabs, or broken tiles. Wear knee pads, so after the knees we can protect our feet. Very important, safety shoes. This is the Close Swift model from CoverGuard. Of course, it has a reinforced toe cap. They're grey, black, and yellow, with a yellow sole. They look more like sneakers than safety shoes. So you'll be able to protect your feet while still having style, and we'll finish with the clothing. At CoverGuard, the range is really complete for both women and men and for all professions. You'll find rainwear, parkas, jackets, vests, puffer jackets, sweatshirts, t-shirts, and of course work pants. And this fleece that I love, it keeps you warm, it's super comfortable, and it's lightweight. I don't have to wear 50,000 layers of clothing to work and stay warm. A t-shirt, the fleece, I can move around, and if I need to put a puffer jacket on top, it works. You see, I can zip up the puffer jacket, I can move, and the fleece doesn't get in my way. So, if you enjoy my videos, the best way to support me is to subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notification bell to get new videos and give a big thumbs up. You can also follow me on Instagram by subscribing. I post photos and videos regularly. Alright, let's get back to our reinforced socket. Whether it's Legrand, Schneider, or Eiger, the brand doesn't matter. A reinforced socket costs between 60 and 180 euros depending on the pack. So, before installing a reinforced socket, a P17 socket, even if it's not up to code for charging your vehicle at home or a charging station, You need to ask yourself a good question. What do I really need? The most important thing is your situation and your lifestyle with your car. If you drive 20 kilometers a day, a reinforced socket will be more than enough. However, if you drive 300 kilometers a day, if you need to recharge very often, a P17 socket or a charging station will be necessary. In my case, I drive a maximum of 60 kilometers a day, so just at the limit. A regular socket can do the job, but it's not designed for that. You can't expect a regular socket to charge a vehicle for more than 10 or 20 hours. Even with a dedicated line and circuit breaker, this isn't about running a washing machine for 30 minutes, but charging an electric vehicle for 10, 15, or even 20 hours. You can imagine that with batteries of 10 kilodalrs or 60 kilodalrs depending on the car model, the electrical line must heat up quite a bit. With a regular outlet, there's a real risk of overheating, and on top of that, it's super slow, but hey, it can help out in a pinch. Are you going away for the weekend to a remote place? There's no charging station. You can recharge using a household outlet, but like I said, there's a risk. Recently, I plugged into an outdoor outlet. You probably saw it. I made a short. It was an Ager brand outlet. It looks nice. It lights up blue, but it's a regular outlet. It's installed outside. It's waterproof, no problem. I tested it by plugging the vehicle into it. It works, but it's super slow. And you can clearly see that after 20 hours of charging, the outlet is hot. And at the circuit breaker panel, it also gets warm. So, to meet standards and avoid incidents, I'm going to install a reinforced outlet. This reinforced outlet is really suitable for charging a vehicle. It can withstand several hours of charging without overheating. And I'll be able to use the 16 amps from my 16 amp outlet times 230 volts, which equals 3,680 watts.
It runs on electricity, but you need a nuclear reaction to generate the 2.21 gigawatts of electricity. 2.21 gigawatts.
It'll be a bit faster than a regular outlet, there's no risk of overheating, and it's connected to its own circuit breaker. To connect this reinforced outlet, I can install a residual current switch and a circuit breaker, or just use a residual current circuit breaker to save space. For the cable, and optionally if you want, we could add a Hercross contactor next to the residual current circuit breaker. And regarding the residual current circuit breaker, it's always better to add a safety margin for its protection. You increase by 125% and you have its protection. For example, if I need to install this 16 amp outlet, I add 125% to 16 amps and I get 20 amps. So a 20 amp circuit breaker with my 16 amp outlet, if I need to install a 32 amp outlet, I add 125% to 32 amps and I get 40 amps, so a 40 amp circuit breaker. It's important to avoid reaching the limit, especially when charging an electric vehicle, which heavily demands the electrical system. So, the reinforced outlet is more than enough if you drive 20 or 50 kilometers a day, but if you drive 200, 300 or even 400 and you need to recharge more often. There are two other solutions, the charging station or the P17 socket. With a charging station, you're up to code and it's 2 to 3 times faster than a reinforced outlet. You can program it, you can check the data through an app. It comes in 3.7 kilowatts and 7.4 kilowatts if you have single phase, or 11 kilowatts or 22 kilowatts if you have 3 phase. That's more suited for parking lots or rest areas. Now we're talking larger installations. If you have 3 phase at home and can afford a 22 kilowatt charger, go ahead and treat yourself. Keep in mind that only a certified infrastructure for electric vehicle charging professional can install a charging station, and you'll need to make sure that your electrical system is up to code and powerful enough to have your charging station installed. If you install it yourself, there is no warranty for the charging station or the vehicle. In case of an incident on the electrical line, your insurance will not cover you at all. Now, from an aesthetic point of view, putting a charging station on the front of a house, personally, I think it looks really ugly. If I ever have to do it, whether it's a charging station or P17 outlets, well, I'll make a hole. A pole, some concrete, an outdoor box, and far enough from the house. When you come in, I don't want people to see a charging station for vehicles. Mounting it on a concrete pole away from the house is beneficial in case, after 10 years, officials say it's safe. It turns out that maybe in the end, good old fuel oil pollutes less than electricity. I don't have a hole in the wall, I just remove the box, pole and concrete, then plant geraniums, that's all. To wrap up on charging stations, if you plan to install one, there's a link in the description. Grants and subsidies are available. So now, there's another solution to charge your electric or hybrid vehicle without spending a fortune. With a charging station, it's about connecting a 32 amp P17 socket to its dedicated circuit breaker and a type F or a residual current device. But be careful, as I mentioned earlier, this type of socket for charging an electric vehicle in a residential setting is not up to code. Not good?
Not good. Good.
So, a P17 socket looks like this. They're blue for single phase, red for 3-phase. They come in IP44 and even IP67. For example, this socket is an IP67 and it's even rated IK08 for impact resistance. So this type of socket is really made for heavy duty use. With the P17 socket, I'll get 32 amps times 230 volts, which equals 7,363 watts, roughly 7.4. A socket of this type, so P17 IP67, costs between 20 and 30 euros depending on the brand. You'll need to add to it. A circuit breaker costs about 15 euros and a Type A differential circuit breaker, 40 amps, 30 milliamps, costs around 50 euros. And of course, you'll need cable. So go straight for 10 mm too. Even if you only have 3 meters, you might think that with 3 meters of cable, 6 mm too would be enough. Honestly, given the power it's going to require, just go straight for 10 mm2, and considering the price difference between 6 mm2 and 10 mm2, honestly, get the 10 mm2. Then, depending on your car brand, an adapter costs around 30 euros. So do the math. With this type of outlet, it's about 150-200 euros. You can charge your hybrid electric vehicle with 7.4 kW. So based on everything I just told you, this outlet is the best solution, it's economical, and I'll have 7.4 kW to charge my vehicle. But then, why install a reinforced outlet that will only give me 3.7 kW, which costs around 150 euros? That's the price I paid for this pack and the circuit breaker. For the same price, I can install this outlet and get 7.4 kW plus. Installing either the reinforced outlet or the P17 takes the same amount of time. Well, for now, this type of reinforced outlet suits my needs perfectly. But as I told you, my wife will probably change her vehicle and switch to a hybrid or an electric one. I have my hybrid vehicle, so we'll have to rethink the whole installation and put in an outlet for my vehicle and an outlet for my wife's vehicle. So, for now, I don't know when she'll get her new vehicle. I'm installing this outlet for my use and when she gets her vehicle. I said I don't want any holes in the front of the house. So I'll install P17 outlets, and as I told you, it'll be on a pole set in a concrete base with a box, a case, so the outlets can be locked inside. And regarding the P17 outlet, it's quite controversial. I've told you P17 outlet, it's not up to code in residential settings. It's the National Fire Code 1500 standard that prohibits the use of this type of outlet to charge a hybrid or electric vehicle at your home. And it's all because of a shutter, basically. If you leave the charging cable plugged into the P17 outlet and there's no shutter at the end of the line, there's a risk of electrocution. It's important to know that this ban doesn't only apply to P17 outlets, but to all devices without a shutter. So it also concerns charging stations with an attached cable. So, standards are like DTUS. I've often repeated in comments and in videos that a standard or a DTU is not a law. You can do whatever you want at home. You're not going to get fined for installing a P17 outlet. Now you do what you want at home. You can install as many P17 outlet S as you want. All along the facade, there's no problem, but it's at your own risk. Especially when it comes to electricity, it can be very dangerous. You can install one, but make sure it's properly wired, that your panel is up to code, and above all, secure your outlet knowing that the P17 outlet has a shutter. You have to unscrew it to access the outlet, but a child could easily unscrew it and insert something into it and get electrocuted, just like they could with a regular household outlet. In case of an accident, your insurance absolutely won't cover you and you will be held responsible. You'd have to be pretty foolish to remove the shutter just to insert the cable and save 3 seconds, since it's a hassle to unscrew. And we see it very often, whether it's an IP67 or IP44 socket. The IP44, you just flip it like this. The IP67, you have to screw it in, but most of the time it's removed, it's broken, all just to save time. But it's the same thing with a domestic socket at home. It's not fixed properly, it's sticking out from the wall, it's even coming out of the wall. A child can put their hand in the socket, pull on it and get electrocuted, and it's like a pot left on the stove or a child in the bath without supervision. People pour alcohol on the barbecue to ignite it faster. We rush down the stairs and that's when disaster strikes. Domestic accidents are common. It's your responsibility to prevent tragedy. Your electrical installation must meet the standards and your socket must be properly wired. Then you add all possible protections to secure your socket and you're ready. You place the IP67 socket 1.3 meters above the ground. Of course, you keep the shutter on the socket and you keep the shutter on the charging cable, or you add one if there isn't one. And you can also unplug the cable when you don't need to charge charge the car, but honestly, it's easier to just leave it plugged in. You come home in the evening, take the cable, plug it into the car, and that's it. At the panel, you could also switch off the IP67 socket as soon as you don't need to charge the car. For IP67 socket S, you can install a shut-off button, or you could put the sockets in a box that can be locked with a key. So as you can see, there are several ways to secure an IP67 socket to prevent any accidents. So basically, you are completely allowed to charge your vehicle at home with an IP67 socket as long as you add all the necessary safety measures. But in any case, it will never be up to code. It will never be up to code. With the National Fire Code 1500 standard in effect as of October 2022, the date when I'm recording this video, well, that's a standard. It's supposed to evolve, maybe it will change over time, but for now, as I told you, it's not up to code, even with all possible safety measures. This type of outlet can be dangerous on your house's exterior, even though it's less risky inside than an easily accessible outlet. On a Saturday morning at a market, we've all seen this at a market, the IP67 outlet, all the extension cords plugged into it, extension cords everywhere, nothing is up to code. The extension cords are plugged into power strips, which are plugged into another extension cord on another power strip. And I'm not even talking about the extension cords that are soaking in water when it rains. But it's the same during a concert at the municipal stadium, it's the same at marinas, it's the same in industry and in shopping malls. P17 sockets with or without shutters, do you find them everywhere? We're not reinventing the wheel. P17 sockets exist and are much cheaper than charging stations, but you can't install one at home. To charge your hybrid or electric vehicle, you've been warned, it's forbidden. But you know what they say? Who benefits from the crime? I'll let you think about it and let me know. Meanwhile, we'll work on the reinforced socket. As I said, I'll show all the steps and we'll be able to charge.
And my car safely.
I took off the door and cover from the electrical panel. The socket goes where I marked, and the circuit breaker will be placed between it and the terminal blocks. I have about 30 cmets in 10mm2, and between the circuit breaker and the socket, I have about 60 cmets in 3G25, so I don't need much cable. I took out all the tools, everything is here. The socket, as you saw earlier, is the Legrand Green Up model. You can't buy it separately. Just so you know, it also exists in other brands like Schneider, Hager, and maybe others. The circuit breaker. The support, am I going to install it? I don't know. We can hang the charging cable. If I have space, I'll put it up, otherwise it will stay in its box. The 10mm2 is here. I put some 2.5 next to it for you, so you can see the difference in cross-section. The 3G25, the cable ends for the 10mm2, the crimping tool, the cable ends, the electric crimper, that's great. I need to give you a demo. The impact driver, the drill, the anchors to fix the socket in the drywall, the pliers, screwdrivers, wire stripper, utility knife. I don't know if I'm going to use it, but if I do, we'll put on the cut-resistant gloves. The box is installed, nothing special. 4 anchors, 4 screws, the reinforced socket, you can see what it looks like. The cable is 3G 2.5, so 2.5 because I only have 50 centimeters of cable. If you have long distances, 30 meters, 40 meters, or even 50 meters, use 6mm2. The neutral is always blue, that's mandatory. The ground is yellow and green as well. It's mandatory to respect these colors and of course to connect them properly. And then we have the phase, so the phase, it can be brown, black, red, or purple, it doesn't matter. But the 2 colors you must respect are yellow and green for the ground and blue for the neutral. The reinforced socket. If I take a screw, you see it's magnetic, it holds by itself. With a regular socket, if I put a screw on it, it'll fall off. There's no magnetism. The magnetism, my car charger will detect it, and it'll recognize it as a reinforced socket. I can use the 16 amps from my outlet on a regular socket since there's no magnetism. I plug in my charger, it'll say, careful, this isn't a reinforced socket. It'll limit it to 8 amps. So here, we'll be able to use the 16 amps, and depending on some chargers, we might only be able to use 14 amps from the socket, but that's still better than 8. And most importantly, it's a reinforced socket. It's designed for charging over several hours. So for now, all we have to do is strip the cable. And once our cable is stripped, we simply place it in the socket in the terminals of the socket, and then we tighten it. And so this is what it looks like. You see, nothing extraordinary. We've just tightened 3 wires into a socket. So now we can pass the cable through the cable gland and put the socket back into the box. So I could have easily passed the cable through first and done the assembly once the cable was already in the socket, but it's simpler for me to film it this way, okay? And then you place it into the notches that are here. That's all there is to do. And then we can tighten it. Of course, the cable gland, put on the protective cover, screw it in. And for her, that's it. The socket is installed with 4 anchors and is secure, so I didn't use the bracket with 2 hooks. I don't need it since it's held between the 2 cable ducts. So, could I have hung the cable? I don't know, but I don't need it. This socket is IP66, of course you can use it outside, but I'm installing it inside. You know the situation. I don't want to make holes in the facade, especially at 1.2 meters, and maybe by then I might need a P17 charging station if my wife gets an electric vehicle, so things might change. This outlet gives me 3.7 kilowatt. You don't have to call a certified infrastructure for electric vehicle charging professional. You can install it yourself at home or at your workplace. Here, the goal is to turn off the breaker for safe work. On the panel, I'll show you that there's definitely current, 230, 234, 235 volts, so we turn off the breaker to work safely. After turning off the breaker, we use a voltage tester to confirm there's no current. So, the 3G-25 cable is stripped. I'll be able to take my ground wire, pass it behind the ground wires that are already connected, and tap in right here. Next, the phase and the neutral. It can be tricky because there are already quite a few wires. You have to run them behind the circuit breaker supports, go up to the differential breaker, and connect them. But for now, we're focusing on the ground. The phase and neutral in 2.5 have reached their destination. We can place the circuit breaker here and connect the phase and neutral just below. But before that, I'll place the 10mm wires and run them along the side. Here! Wrap one already and the little second one. There we go. And so on the 10mm wires, I'm going to put cable lugs. Now that they're stripped, I take the cable lugs and we crimp them. I'll show you another demo later with the crimping tool. Honestly, it's great and works on its own. So for this one, we position it, we lock it above and below. I'll move it for them, then we'll see. We'll be able to connect it. We put the neutral, as I told you, on the left in its terminal block. Same for the phase. And that's done. So now we'll take care of the part that's under the circuit breaker. We strip the wire. So, just as a reminder, it's the 3G25 that we connected earlier to the socket and to the ground, so the neutral is always on the left. And then we connect the phase. And for him, that's it. So the 3G25 goes all the way to the socket. And on top, the 10 square millimeters. Now that we're going to connect it to the terminal block, so the 10 square well, we're simply going to cut it and strip it. We put a cable end on it. And we can crimp it. Subtitling. And then we place it in the terminal block. Of course, from the phase. And don't forget to tighten it properly. And for the neutral, it's the same thing. We cut, we strip the wire, we put on the cable end, and we tighten it. We put it in the terminal block and screw it in. Now that everything's connected, here's a recap. The green up socket routes back up in 3G25 to the circuit breaker. We connected from below, so the neutral on the left, the phase on the right, on the top 10 square millimeters neutral on the left. Phase on the right, the phase on its phase terminal block, and the neutral on its neutral terminal block. I can turn the power back on now. Test the circuit breaker, check with the voltage tester that we have 230 and also at the outlet. And at the circuit breaker. We can test it. I turn it on and press here and it works very well. We can use the voltage tester to check if the circuit breaker has 230 volts. It's perfect. The front panel of the board is back on, but I'm missing quite a few covers. One here, one there, and another one there. I also need to redo the labels. Either change it or put some BFine on it because it got really tanned. We're going to remove the front panel. On the top, it's not too bad, but on the front, it really got overheated. I plugged in the charger. For now, it fits under the door sill and it doesn't crush the cable at all because the car is outside. Alright, it's connected, everything works, and as you saw for yourself, there's nothing complicated, so I didn't specify it earlier. It's recommended to use a surge protector with this outlet, and as I mentioned earlier, you can install it yourself. You don't have to call an infrastructure for electric vehicle charging, certified professional, but for anything related to charging stations, yes, you'll need to call a certified infrastructure for electric vehicle charging professional. So for my part, this installation is done. We'll see later if I install a charging station or two P17 outlets, and in any case, I'll make a video. I know some of you have been waiting for this, so let's start the home shopping segment. And this week, I'm offering you this beautiful LTE lamp, the SL222 and its big sister, the SL622. These are the two lamps I use to light up my work site. So, of course, I could open the door, but outside the weather is really grey. It's raining a little even though I turned off the power. If it rains on the panel, it could be dangerous. So, for lighting, I put it upside down, the hooks, there you go. I could even hang it here. You see, look, it holds by itself on the garage door rails. You turn the head and it works. And then I put it on the workbench and it lit up the panel upside down. So, it works. These two lamps with the Neuron batteries, the new batteries. So, I'll take this one back. I'll need it to show you. There you go. It's right here. The entire new LTE range is compatible, of course, with the Neuron batteries, the SL622. Of course, I'll show you the battery. There are several capacities. They're smart. You can check them remotely to know the status of the tool, to know where the tool is in particular. In fact, you can track everything with this battery. And on the batteries, they've added this little button you see here. I press it and the battery comes out by itself. You see it comes out so I can remove it very easily. Let's say you have a dusty tool and struggle to insert or remove the battery, risking damage to the pins. With this, you just press and it pops out easily. You can adjust it however you want, turn it in any direction. You see, like this, like that, you do whatever you want. And then we have the SL622, which is super powerful. I can adjust the intensity. Let's turn it off. It's off. I can point it in any direction. We can turn the head and adjust it at the same time. So 22 volt 12 amp battery, 22 volt 8 amp battery. Here we have 4 amps, so they're much smaller here. 2 amps, 3.5 amps. You can see the difference. It's shorter. Well, on a lamp it can work, but it's mainly for impact drivers and drills. At least for the drill, because if you put this on your drill, of course, it's heavier, but with this, it's super easy to handle. The new Neuron battery from LT compared to the previous generation, they're extremely powerful and we've gained more battery life. So if you're interested in the new LT battery, there's a link in the description. Check it all out. I've received a lot of new products from LT. I need to show you that soon in a video, especially the impact driver. Did you see it in the video? A direct LED ring, there was the SF, a small battery on it, it's suitable, it's lightweight. All the tools from this video are linked in the description. I still need to show you the amazing Certisoscope Micro. I discovered it when I did the 6 Pro shoot. I knew it existed, but I had never tried it. And you know what they say, once you try it, you can't go back. After using this machine to crimp a cable end or terminal, you won't want to use a manual crimper again. So, if you only have 2 or 3 to do from time to time, yes, the manual crimper can help out. But if you do this all day, if you're putting on cable ends and crimping, the pain in your forearm, the pain in your shoulder, after a while, you just can't take it anymore. Now, I know what people are going to say. It costs a certain amount, but health, above all, your health is priceless. Ending up at 50 with tendinitis everywhere because you've been doing this all day long. It might seem like a simple movement, but do it all day. At some point, your arm is on fire. I'm referring to a crimping tool for terminals, but it's the same for crimping rails and studs in drywall. You use it all day, one-handed or two-handed. MSDs, musculoskeletal disorders, you're gonna feel them. So at 20 or 30 years old, we don't hurt, we go for it, we don't feel any pain. If musculoskeletal disorders don't show up at 40, they'll show up at 50, and if not at 50, then at 60. But no matter what, there comes a time when the body just can't take it anymore. And in addition to tendinitis in the forearm or shoulder, from repeating this movement, you can also have the nerve in your wrist become paralyzed or blocked. It's better to invest in a machine with battery-powered electric assistance, which will give you real comfort when using it. And it's the same thing for crimping plumbing fittings. Just like today, we use battery-powered saws instead of taking out the handsaw, we use a drill or a breaker instead of the hammer and chisel, and we gain comfort. So, the EK 50 ml micro crimping tool can crimp from 0.5 up to 50 mm. I'll give you a demo. You can change the jaws very easily and you can crimp any type of terminal. With or without a cable end, just let me know your preference. Personally, I think it looks neater with a cable end. The advantage is that the screw won't spread the copper strands and it could even break them. The screw will touch the cable end here, giving me a better conductor. To wrap up, you can confidently use the Cloak Micro Crimping Tool. It's excellent cloak equipment. They have a catalog that's this thick. They make a lot of things, lots of consumables, really big crimping tools. Go check it all out. You'll find all the links in the description. And for those who've been following me for a while, you know that machines inspire me. I like to use them for other purposes, so we'll talk about it again very soon. Well, I really want to thank you for watching this video. I hope it will be useful if you're planning to install a reinforced socket at home. I really enjoyed filming this installation. I don't talk much about electricity on this channel, but the little I do show in videos, I have a blast doing it and showing it. So if there are any electrical topics you're interested in, don't hesitate. We'll try to cover those topics. And soon, as I mentioned, I'll be installing P17 sockets outside, so we'll talk about electricity again. Alright, we'll meet again soon for more videos, especially the next part about the bathroom that everyone keeps asking me about. Where is it? The bathroom? We want to see the bathroom. Give us back the bathroom. We want to see the episodes. I'll stop breathing if I don't see the finished bathroom. It's coming soon. But lately, I've had a ton of work on top of all the hours of footage to process for the bathroom videos. I need to get everything back in order. I have many folders from filming with different cameras, but I'm making progress and it will be ready soon. In the meantime, take care and see you very soon.